Alright, welcome back to the Supercoach Nuff channel. In this video we're going to look at the round 2 team list reveals in about 10 minutes time according to the clock. But as usual we'll use this time to also review the Sportsdeck Dream Team. So I guess the third most popular in terms of NRL fantasy games. So I guess this result's pretty well in line with my Supercoach result, maybe a little bit worse. Scoring an 8-12, again, usually for round 1 that's okay, but given there was such high scoring this round, I'm in the top 64% overall, so rough start, but again, it's a marathon, not a sprint. But we'll have a look at the team and how it went. So our hookers fared okay, I suppose. You know, Mamazelis with a 40, Pakes with a 33. Our front row, so Barnett and Horsburgh, pretty solid with a 47 and a 49 respectively. And Terrell May did really well with a 65. So I guess just for a bit of context for those that aren't familiar with the sports deck, an average of 60 is pretty good. You know, the scoring in terms of that is fairly aligned with fantasy. You don't get too many of the massive spikes, but yeah, the elite options in each line average 60-ish, which makes Isaiah 76 all the better. A fantastic effort from Isaiah in week 1. Kobe Hetherington solid with a 37. You know, the cheap price is okay. Tuolangi was a bit disappointing. Just the 14 for him. So we'll give him a second chance, but he is very much on the chopping block going into week 3. Round 3, I should say. On the bench, some solid contributions from Nafahu White, Fini Fuyaki, who will miss this week with HIA, and Hubner as the cheap option there. 29 wasn't the worst. In the halves, so Cleary with 55 was pretty good. Hines with the 35. Was hoping for a little bit more from him, and I guess the fact he's not kicking goals, and you know, Trindle's probably doing a bit more of the organising there, may see him slip in value, so there is potential to use that money elsewhere. On the bench, Metcalf, I guess we've already talked about in other fantasy Supercoach channels, pretty disappointing, just an 8-point return in Dream Team. But Tom Duffy was quite good with 40 points in what was a well-beaten North Queensland side. So it just goes to show that, you know, the way the scoring works for different games affects different players differently. So Duffy's done pretty well here. In the centres, so Ruben Garrick and Drell Skelton both contributing well with 50s apiece, 52, 51 respectively. But probably the best score, Isaiah had him by 1, but Rob Toyer with a 75, he was really impressive on debut. So definitely one, if you haven't got him in any of your formats, just get him in. He's going to be a bit of a jet, I reckon. Purdue, tough initiation to the centres with Homole Olakuatu running at you. So I think he will improve on that 17-point return. Along the wing fullback line, Tommy Turbo 64, so you know, he blew up in Supercoach, but you know, a bit more of a muted performance here. Kalen Ponga, whose fantasy and Supercoach scores were pretty decent for the sort of poor showing, only a 46 in Dream Team, and obviously as the captain this week, he's cost me a few points there. Yongi with 44, so again in a well-beaten team, that's a decent return from him. And Shibasaki, so more points left on the bench with a massive 68 this week. Campbell obviously on the bye, but we're saving a trade by stashing him there. Sanders Smith was a little bit disappointing with 18 this week. So if we look at the game day quickly, so that's right, I think round 1 we didn't have any head-to-head matchups, but I'm pretty sure I can see everyone else's scores. So a couple of tight at the top for top scores. So Oliver's Hull White Star team with a 974, captaining Isaiah Yeo, which is good. Fanua Blake with 64, Arthurs with 60, Watson with 54, Dylan Lucas with 56, Jamie Humphries with 75. So, lots of great picks there that I didn't go for this week. And sort of having Metcalf's 8 drop out, I guess that sort of impacted my score a bit as well. But trying to squeeze the extra cheapies in there with Sandon Smith in the flex might have cost me a bit there too. And the Zip man with 973, Roberts team. So Fisher Harris with 55 was solid. Rob Toyer on field's good. Marzu with 64 and Farnworth with 64. Pappenhausen with 83. Captain Tommy Turbo, which was good. Terrell May as well. So some great options there as well. Just having a quick look overall. So top scorer this week was Tui Pelotti with his 3 tries against the Bulldogs. And obviously all the line breaks and tackle breaks that go along with that. Payne Haas with 84 was epic. And he's expensive, but he's one you want as a keeper. Tupanua surprisingly off the bench with an 82. Cherry Evans, solid half, does the kicking, that sort of thing. So 80 points for him. But just remember, he won't play at Brookvale every week, so I don't think you have to pile on. Maybe if you want to trade out of Hines. Val Holmes, keeper in the centres, looked really good on the weekend in what a Dragons team that was dominated for a lot of it. But once they started taking a risk and throwing the ball, he did some good stuff and obviously fed Tui Pelotu. Cam Munster looked good, obviously on the bye this week, and then the Panthers in round 3 is the risk with him. So just probably wait a couple of weeks. Like Supercoach, Dream Team prices don't go up until after their 3rd game, so you've got another chance to reassess whether you need to bring in Munster. Humphreys and Toya we've touched on. Max Plath was awesome with 74. And with Fini Fuiaki and Lemuelu out, pretty well locked into 80 minutes on the edge. Maybe I think the play might have been with Lemuelu coming in. He might slide into the middle and still play 80. So something to look at in the future. But if you've got him, definitely a hold. Adam Reynolds, sort of a very similar style to Cherry Evans. 74 this week. Olaquatu was massive, 72. If you've got him, hold him for the season. Jack Howarth at the price was a pretty good return there, 72. Hosking, Zarko Brayley, Timoko. So we've seen these guys in other formats all score fairly well. Might just have a quick look at break-evens as well. Not that they matter much this week, but I guess Toya Shibasaki I've got. Humphreys is definitely on the radar. Negative 29 break-even. Tamale, sounds like he'll get a 2nd game this week. So if he does get a 3rd game, we'll probably have to look at bringing him in. Tupanua, Tui Pelotu at that mid price. They're not going to score this every week, so maybe a watch and maybe just a quick cash grab to start the season. Howarth at 408 for a centre, I'm intrigued by. But Duffy Yongi I've got. And then, Laurie will play on the bench, so any cash he makes will quickly erode. Xavier Savage actually looked pretty good. He could be one worth considering. Gajeski, cheap 2nd rower if you need one. And Fiketti, also a cheap 2nd rower if you need one, given the Roosters' issues in their forward pack at the moment. Might get a few games yet. But I guess we won't discuss trades too much. A bit like Supercoach, I'll try not to make any rash moves in this week. I'll give everyone another chance, have a bit more of a look at the value, and we'll go from there. But it is 3 o'clock, so I hope if I press the refresh button, we should have some team lists available. Alright, here we go. Breaking news. Team list for round 2. So, a few big guns at the top there. Probably Tino is the one we're happiest to see, particularly for our Supercoach sides. But the Knights and Dolphins on Thursday night. So for the Knights, looks very much like the same 13 from last week. Probably the one change, Adam Elliott on the bench. Yep, so Elliott in alongside a few others listed in the reserves. And for the Dolphins, backs look the same. So Oren Keeley coming in on the edge with, as we said, Lemuelu and Fini Furiaki both out. Probably a 1 week play, and then Fini Furiaki will slot back in there. So Keeley may revert to the bench, which could be useful. Um, but in saying that, their bench looks very similar. Mark Nichols coming back in where Lemuelu was, but Stone, Kerr, Donahue all featured there last week. So, um, yeah, I think Keely's a 1 weeker, so probably avoid. Warriors Seagulls. So for the Warriors, sticking solid by the looks of it with their team from Vegas 2 weeks ago. Um, on the bench, yeah, the same bench. So maybe that last minute change. I think it was Ford came on for Clark. Could be on again, but very much the same 17 there for the Warriors. And I can't imagine too many changes for the Seagulls. Maybe was Aloe out last week? Yeah, so Josh Aloe just slots straight in for Talkeaho. And then, yeah, same bench, same starting 13 outside of that one change. Panthers Roosters. So for the Panthers, Brian Tyree back in. So Alamotti shifts to the centre and Garner goes to the bench. So I guess probably slots in on the edge at some point. So you'd imagine Papali'i is sort of entrenched there as a middle forward. So for those that were watching Papali'i, basically playing as a bench front rower. But yeah, forward pack looks the same. And for the Roosters, there was a bit of chat. Dom Young might get a bit of time in the Reggies, but he's named again. Siwa Wong named on the edge, and Fiketti coming into the 13. So I guess that does raise the stocks of the lad um, getting into first grade. Looks like Makatoa is the one who comes in for Victor Radley. So guess Blake Steep looks fairly entrenched if you consider that Butcher and Radley sort of would come in. Yeah, so I guess if you're looking for a cheap second rower, probably Fiketti gets the nod just because he is in the starting role this week. Dragons Rabbitohs. So for the Dragons, so Ryan Couchman with the ACL out for the season. So it looks like Blake Laurie's come in to replace him. Other than that, the side looks the same. Just confirm down here. Yep. So he had a hand injury anyway, so he was probably going to come in for, I reckon, Stewart. So Stewart might be a viable bottom dollar cheapie given, Fatala Mariner's more of an edge forward, you'd imagine. He does play a bit in the middle. And obviously they've got Little replacing Cook as well, so there is some middle minutes there for Stewart potentially. And for the Rabbitohs, so a couple of changes. Fletcher Myers in for Jack Whiten. What's happened to Jackie Boy? Did I miss something? Oh, suspended, of course. Um, but Bailey Bentley Hape. So I'm pretty sure this will be a debutant. Oh, because I've never seen that name before. On the wing, replacing Tyrone Munro. I think if Whiten's only out for 1 week, Myers will slide out there next week. So again, probably not a long-term play. But Humphrey's named in the 7, so that was one thing we were looking to see this week, is if he has locked that 7 spot down. And with Lewis Dodd named in the reserve, you'd think that's probably the case. There was a bit of talk Dodd was carrying an injury, but if he's named in the squad, I think Humphreys may have just won it on merit. So other than that, same team. So Sullivan and Havili and Duncan come off the bench to Tola as well. So I think the rest of that team is the same as last week, just the 2 changes in the back line. Cowboys Sharks. So Cowboys, just having a look. Pretty sure they've stuck fat with most of the team. Kai O'Donnell coming in for Jeremiah Nanai. So why is he missing? I've missed some news apparently. That doesn't really say there. But yeah, might look into that. But yeah, Kai O'Donnell, I think he's fairly cheap. Um, but again, he probably hasn't got the job long term, so no need to sort of rush to get him in. Oh, Nanai's in the extended bench, so don't know. I didn't see the second half of that game, but maybe he didn't do a very good job of protecting Purdue and that out on that edge. So maybe O'Donnell gets a chance to be a bit more defensive. And for the Sharks, I can't imagine any changes, and just looking through, doesn't look like it. Rock solid. Raiders Bronx on Saturday night. So the Raiders. So Albert Hopewadi comes back, but with Xavier Savage missing a week, Tamale gets a second crack on the wing. So if you got him in fantasy, well done. I did not. And I guess that's always the thing is, when players start round one, they're always a chance of filling in for injuries, suspensions, etc. So it's not the worst play. Forward pack looks the same. Um, like Papali's starting because I guess Tarpany's got a week off too, doesn't he? So Matty Nicholson comes in on the bench, but I guess not one to rush and grab. And the Broncos looks pretty much the same as last week. So Pierre Curry gets another shout, which we'll see if he can improve on -10 in Supercoach. But no real sort of news there. Eels Tigers on Sunday Arvo. So for the Eels, so we've got a rookie, Jordan Samrani comes in, replacing Tungo. Don't know if that's form or injury related. Might be, form. And Brown and Volkman the halves. So Sean Lane back in. I'm pretty sure he didn't play last week. And Keltoga on the bench. So a couple of changes there. So who else? Tuolangi out. Is he injured or just dropped? He's not in the extended reserve, so not too sure. So maybe if there is an injury, it's an easy trade out for some of us that have him. And who's the other one? Oh, Mataleli. Not sure what the story is there. Yeah, don't know. For the Tigers, so Stafford Toa was a bit of talk. It was a 1 week thing, so he is back in for Fatape. And I saw a few people in fantasy sort of using him as a loop to get Toya's score and that sort of thing. So that's some advanced tactics there. Missed the boat on that. But the big in, Api Coruscant back in the 9. Talon De Silva coming off the bench. So Tristan Hope, the debutant, has dropped out of the squad. I think other than that, the bench looks the same. Backline all looks the same other than Toa. So yeah, those two ins for those that are interested in them. And then the Bulldogs and Titans. So the Bulldogs looking same as last week. Maybe the one change, Josh Curran in for Harry Hayes, which is a bit flat because Harry Hayes did look really good. I guess he always does when he does play, coming off the bench. But I guess Curran is the more experienced player, so it makes sense to get him back in off suspension. And for the Titans, I guess first look at the Titans, but no surprises in the back line. Brimson Campbell in the halves, Kinney at fullback. So keen for this spine. Obviously, I carried Jaden Campbell in Supercoach and Sportsdeck as we just saw, so I can't wait to unleash him this week. The forward pack, so Fodawaker, Verrills, Campbell Gillard, Cleese Haas. So Dave Fafita named on the bench, but we know even when he's done that in the past, he's still scored quite well. Maybe the one I wasn't expecting to see in terms of names is Brock Gray. I think he played a bit for South a few years ago, but has found his way onto the interchange bench there. And obviously, with Randall, Jolliffe, he would be, and Fafita, Brock Gray would be a middle forward, rotating with Fodawaker, Campbell Gillard, and to a lesser extent, Big Tino. Yeah, former Rabbitoh Brock Gray. There we go. So he came on a training trial, got himself a start. Well done to you, Brock. So I guess not a lot of groundbreaking news. I think Jamie Humphries was the big one. We were all hoping to see. Looks like there's a couple of cheapies on the wing if you want to take a flyer on them. Probably more so in fantasy, where the prices change after their first game. But nothing too groundbreaking for Supercoach just yet. The likes of Duffy or Metcalf that underperformed. Humphries who went really well. Just take the opportunity to have a second look before you commit to trades, because you pick the players that are starting for a reason. Don't give up on them so soon. There you go. But we'll wrap the video up there. As always, if you've got any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to add them below this video. Give us a like if you enjoy the Dream Team content, or I guess the team list analysis side of things. Subscribe for all the fantasy sports content on the channel. And other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.